as I was talking about so many things today, it is a little bit all over the place, but I'm improvising with a lot of things. I could talk all day long, but I'm trying to just get to the point, and the point is that I believe there is no difference between an opera tone and a pop tone. Opera singers today have problems just as much as pop singers and rock singers and jazz singers. Opera singers tend to work on power and force and strength on the high notes and all the rest at the cost of doing a bit of damage, especially if they've got tongue tension, where the tongue contracts and hardens, becomes stiff in the mouth, and that is caused by trying to create a sound that is foreign to their speaking sound. So if I'm speaking like this and I'm going like that, things start to grab and stiffen and tighten up. The walls in the throat in here contract, the pressure on the vocal cords increases, you get sub-pressure, meaning under the vocal folds. The tongue becomes stiff and tight. When the tongue contracts, knowing that it's one of the longest muscles in our bodies and connected to every organ in our back and in our chest and in our body, if it contracts, everything else contracts and assumes the same stiff tone. Okay, so the tongue is a muscle that we need to eliminate out of the throat when we sing and produce voice and word. Okay, so you must learn how to keep it elasticized, not limp and not stiff, but elastic, so that it's moving and able to pronounce vowels and consonants freely. Opera singers, when they get too much pressure in the larynx over time, if there's tongue tension and pressure inside the larynx, and they're grabbing with tongue muscle, they're pressing against their vocal cords to produce a very sort of laryngeal kind of production. The larynx will start to rebel by going into shake and spasm. The diaphragm, if you have intercostal and diaphragmatic stiffness in the muscles, that will come up and affect the focusing action in the throat, and it will cause, if you've got a shaking diaphragm, you get a shaking larynx. So there's different causes or origins that cause a stiffening action in the tongue muscle and in the larynx. And then the larynx, and you might even see some facial tics. You know, I've met some opera singers who have been singing throaty for many years, very successful in career. Production I don't agree to, and have had facial tics when they talk and stuttering in their speech. So, and that's coming from an overrun, over-driven tongue muscle and a larynx that has gone into shakes and spasms and gone to affect the external muscles of our face and jaw and chin, causing them to spasm and tic. There is this strong belief that when one sings they have to smile into the maxillary cheek muscles. Well, we don't do that naturally when we talk, and it looks like I've plastered that muscle into a position, and it doesn't like hanging up there all the time. So the idea would probably have come from some of the texts of Enrico Caruso, who encouraged in some of his writings that to sing you must have a natural smile, not a stiff smile. So let's assume that a natural smile would be when the teeth are appearing a little bit when the mouth opens, so as opposed to plastering into the maxillary cheek muscles here. Okay, so we don't want to get caught there and then the eyes are squinting. It looks so fake. It's unbelievable, and it only creates tics and spasms because these muscles can't hold those positions for long before they start to shake and tremble, and then you got extra problems in the face. So there's a whole lot of things of these sorts. There's, as I said, a grinder tone, a wobbly tone. The wobble's coming from spasming larynx and tongue muscle and facial tics. Tremolo tone, a very fast, okay, coming from an overexcited larynx caused by pressure, too much pressure sitting in underneath the vocal folds in the larynx. Some people who have a bleat have very well focused vocal cords, but because of the pressure over time it starts to get a little bit trembly and shaky. So we need to eliminate the pressure sitting under the vocal cords within the larynx. The larynx was not made to cut carbon dioxide, which is passing through the vocal cords, and also hold it. It's not meant to hold air while it's trying to chop the air going through. Okay, it's not meant to do that. Okay, that's what it would look like. So yeah, opera singers tend to like to phonate, our modern opera singers, a lot from the mouth down to the larynx, and that would sound like so it's all mouth resonance, laryngeal resonance, but they forgot that they got to get into the skull and into the body. So a natural singer incorporates these cavities as resonance chambers, but doesn't allow for pressure to build up in there or in the mouth. Okay, they tend to like send their resonances or their vibrations and resonances turn on higher in the head, deeper in the body, and eliminate all pressure or accumulated air pressure in these areas. So from in the larynx to in the mouth to now we've got a sound that's living up in the skull, in the mouth, in the larynx and in the body, but a void sensation all the way through with no air pressure build up anywhere. The natural voice is characterized by the squeal of the tone, which comes purely from focused sound coming off the bone. Now, I'm mentioning the word focus. It's always been mentioned over many years, at different times in my life. I've heard it, but I never understood it until over the many years that I started to question vocal production. Focus and unfocused tone are basically an unfocused tone. If that's a vibrated sound and a breathy sounds over here and a grinded sounds over there, an unfocused tone would sound like there's a lot of breath air escape. So I'm right on the midpoint. I'm purring on the midpoint of the sound where I'm purring into vibration. There's no air escape anymore. I've eliminated air escape. But if I want to go even further and press against my throat muscles, okay, that's what I call a purring vibration. Purring means no air escape, no pressing, no grinding in the larynx, and no aerating, that is air escaping through the glottis, the gap between the two vocal folds. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have a vibrated tone, not a pressed tone or an aerated tone. And so definitely focused tone is in. We're working off the bone and off the vocal cords to produce a sound that resonates high in the head's cavity of the skull and deep in the body, to bring up the dark resonances into the mouth from the body, and the squealy, bright, ringing resonances from the facial mask and the dome and the side sphenoids and even the back end of the skull. Anything vibrating in the skull brings down the bright tone, that silvery colour in the voice, and anything dark brings up, coming into the mouth, brings up the velvet and the roundness in the sound. The pop voice, coming to a close, I'm finishing now. The pop voice generally can be a fully connected voice, but not a fully resonant tone. You have the half compressed resonance, and then you have the full mouth compressed resonance. Okay, our resonance pockets in our resonance cavities of our bones can compress where air pressure locks tight into the bone, or it can half lock or fully lock. So if I'm singing in a half focused and half compressed tone, oh yeah baby, come with me tonight, or I could do a full compressed and full mouth resonance and full body resonance tone, oh baby, come with me tonight. I wasn't pushing louder, I opened my mouth more and I sang with a little bit more compressed resonance in the body and head and mouth and larynx, and I increased the energy in the voice. So full compressed resonance or half compressed resonance can determine if a voice is what they say a pop voice or a classic operatic full tone voice. Opening and closing the mouth can, as I said, can create half resonance or full resonance. Okay, so you can play around with that. So pop voices tend, in my opinion, to be more cut-off resonance in the voice, and it tends to sound smaller, whereas the open throat operatic voice, which I don't believe is an opera voice but a full open tone natural voice, sings in its full resonance with a big voice. And then that doesn't mean to say you can't go soft and loud on a big voice. And I haven't diminished the tone. Or I could do a half resonant voice. Okay, so that's the difference between, I guess, what they call pop and opera. I think I've covered everything. The other thing I want to say is about breathing. Breathing, there's 4 types. Clavicular breathing, which centers mainly around this upper area. It hangs around this area. And you can get caught in tongue tension if you're focusing your sound hanging around your mouth and around the neck area. You have thoracic breathing, you have abdominal breathing, which is very popular. I wouldn't suggest that deep abdominal breathing is the way to go, because it puts pressure on your digestive organs and it can lock your back muscles and your pelvic muscles into stiff tension, where then the diaphragm's left to fend on its own, and anything the diaphragm stiffens up too hard, causing a stiffness in the tone and a pressing pressure under the vocal cords, causing a grinded sound. Intercostal breathing is very popular. Natural breathing uses all 4. Clavicular movement, thoracic movement, abdominal movement, and intercostal. I don't want to give away everything, but if you are interested to know more, then do give us a call. Book in a singing lesson at any time, and you'll find that all 4 breathing motions, clavicular, thoracic, abdominal and intercostal, all move together like in aerobic sports. If you go for a jog, everything's moving. And the principle's the same in natural breathing. We allow the body to move in every direction the way it does in sports. That's about it, and I thank you for listening to what I've had to say. There's obviously a lot more to talk about open throat natural production, but I think I've covered a fair amount of information there for you to at least be inquisitive and curious to know more. So thank you very much for listening to what I've had to say. I bless you all, wherever you may be, anywhere on the planet, and you can contact us on the information that's coming up on your screen. Our phone number is 61 for Australia, and then the mobile number. And we look forward to hearing from you from wherever. We do lessons via Skype. If you can't come to Australia, I'd be more than willing and happy to work with you via Skype. Thank you once again, and God bless.